First, I just want to introduce Mark Clark. He will be our alternate on Planning Commission going forward. Appreciate you being here. So he's just here to listen and observe. We do have a quorum today, so just here to watch. First item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any public comment? Okay. So next is the consent agenda. Commission may request for consent agenda item to be moved to the regular agenda for presentation and public comment. Otherwise, the consent agenda will be considered in one vote. All items on the consent agenda have been recommended for approval by staff with no opposition received to date. Since some items on the consent agenda may require a public hearing, the commission will accept public comment on any item on the consent agenda in one public hearing. We did not have minutes from the November meeting to review, so I would request that we remove that from the consent agenda. Otherwise, there's final plat and 2 replats that with no variances that are recommended for approval. So
This one had the sewer extension though,
oh
and these people are dedicating, so do we need to notate that?
yeah, do you want to ask?
Okay. Really quick on item on the consent agenda, item C, RP 25-38, first replat of Hatcher Edition, Block 61. The staff notated that there was a sewer extension that the applicant was aware of, and we just wanted to make sure that that was in the public comments. Okay. And then also regarding consent agenda item D, RP 25-42, first replat of Fort Concho Edition, Block 99. We also just wanted to notate that staff had mentioned that there's a dedication of 86 square feet on the corner in order to allow it to be rounded, and that the applicant is aware. Correct? Okay.
That's correct, yeah. They drew it intentionally that way to meet our standards.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
So with that, I will open it up for further discussion or a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing item A with the meeting minutes. Do I need to make a motion regarding the other two?
No, I think
No.
it's just
Okay.
make a note.
And just notation of the 2 items I discussed.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Brittany and a second from Patrick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Did we have any public comment on those items? No. Okay, thank you.
All right, so moving into the regular agenda, first item is subdivision plats. The Planning Commission has final authority for approval. Appeals may be directed to City Council. First item on the agenda is FP 25-25, Praden subdivision, Section 1, in the ETJ. Request for final plat creating 2 lots over 7 acres within the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction, as well as a variance request for paving a curb and gutter along Spillway Road. Austin.
Thank you. Austin Reed, Senior Planner. This is a final plat creating 2 lots over 7 acres. It is within our ETJ as mentioned, so there is no district, no neighborhood, and there's no zoning as well. The vision plan here is a mix of rural and commercial. Here's a look at the plat itself. You can see the 2 lots it's chopped up into. One is 2 acres, one is 5 acres, and they both front on Spillway Road there to the north. Spillway Road there is technically classified as a major collector. Right now it's paved at about 20 feet, as you can see from that image. But 36 feet is our minimum standard for major collectors. So they would be required to add an additional 8 feet of paving, bringing it to about 28 feet. They have requested a full variance to stay at that 20 feet. The right-of-way there is 50 feet, whereas 56 feet is our minimum standard. So again, their incremental half will come out to an additional 3 feet of dedication. They have requested a full variance there as well. With that, we are recommending approval of the plat itself, subject to 3 conditions. We are recommending approval of the variance for paving and denial of the variance for right-of-way. If you guys have any questions about that, I'd be happy to try and answer them. Our conditions are to widen spillway by 8 feet with curb and gutter, or receive approval of a variance, dedicate an additional 3 feet to spillway, or receive approval of a variance, and to construct sidewalks along spillway because it is a major collector, or receive a waiver. Do you guys have any questions?
Could you go back to the picture of the, so guess it's interesting that it's a major collector
Right.
in this area. Has there been any discussion with the county as far as their preference?
Yeah, we reached out, and a county commissioner let us know that they would prefer the road stays at 20 feet.
Okay. Anybody have any more questions for Austin?
Are they okay with waiving sidewalks, obviously with it not making sense for new major collector?
That's a decision between the planning director and city engineer, and they can evaluate that.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Thank you, Austin.
Thank y'all.
Do we have any public comment?
Good morning, Russell with SKG. Would ask for your approval of this plat and with the variance requested for both of them. Other than a crayon mark on the master thoroughfare plan, that shows this as the major collector, we really don't see the vision of this going. It would actually have to cross a segment of the Lake Nasworthy at kind of the dam, I guess the spillway there. But we understand staff's position because of what the master thoroughfare plan shows, the reality that would ever come to fruition, we see really at this point being extremely low. We're happy to dedicate, I don't say we're happy, we will dedicate the 3 feet if necessary, but we just feel like it's not necessary. Then also any fencing, then we may potentially have to move some fencing. So dedicating the 3 feet wouldn't be an issue, but then now potentially do we have to relocate some expensive fencing that I realize we can't consider cost, but it's a convenience and a reality thing. There's some utility poles there. They could easily be moved at some point in the future. So would ask for your approval with the variances as requested and happy to answer any questions.
May I have any questions for Russell? All right. Thank you, Russell.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Russell, I think Liz has a question.
Is this request, is it change of ownership or just change of use or?
They want to be able to place two residences on this property, and so it's somewhat, not entirely, but one of them potentially, I think, may go to a close relative.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thank you, Russell. Do we have any other public comment? Okay, so I'll go and close public comment and open it up for discussion.
Can we pull up the slide with the request from staff? please? Thank you. Okay, I think that this is an extremely interesting one, being one that is in the ETJ. Spillway Road goes back, it dead ends into 3 large tracts that are owned by individuals. We do have, I think, some city land out there, some hiking trails, and obviously connection into the lake. But as far as once you get further back in that development, most of the lots that are out there in that plat, per the HOA, this doesn't qualify in the HOA, but when you go further out there, they can't be subdivided. So really, there's only 60 maybe residents that are currently residing past this property that we're discussing right now. So in my opinion, I feel like the road functions adequately as is. I don't feel like we need to widen or dedicate the 3 additional feet personally, or construct sidewalks to an area that you don't have walking traffic. So
I'll just say, the other thing that's, is it interesting that it is a master thoroughfare or a
major collector.
major collector in the master thoroughfare plan? I know that's going to be, the master thoroughfare plan is going to be revisited in 20 months-ish, right?
Yes, within the comprehensive plan, that is one of the elements that we'll be reviewing is our master thoroughfare plan. Our current master thoroughfare plan is from 2003, so it's very possible this road gets reclassified. We just don't know that for sure.
Right.
I would say in principle, the staff certainly leans your way. We just have been very consistent when it comes to right-of-way on our master thoroughfare plan. But again, y'all have the ability to grant that variance. And just a reminder, the ordinance doesn't allow y'all to, at this stage, to take away the sidewalk, but we would certainly entertain a waiver from the applicant and discuss that. And we certainly take your comments to heart, saying, is this the best spot for a sidewalk? So we feel very comfortable in seeing a waiver coming through for that request.
Okay, thanks.
And I'll second kind of what Brittany said. I traveled this road weekly, and it'd be one thing if the usage was changing and we're gonna have a lot more traffic, but if it's just one additional residence, I don't see the need for the applicant to have to take on all of those additional costs. And the sidewalks, again, I don't see any foot traffic out in that way, really, ever.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Sorry, need more coffee. I will make a motion to, let's see, deny, oh my gosh, I can't even read. Spillway 8 feet. Removing item 1, which is widening spillway by 8 feet and adding curb and gutter. Removing item 2 as far as dedicating the additional 3 feet of right-of-way. And I would request that the applicant talk to the city about receiving a waiver in regard to sidewalks.
So I just want to clarify, you said deny,
I'm sorry.
but I think,
Approve the plat.
I think you meant approve
Yes, sorry.
and approving the variances.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Can I clarify one thing real quick? Are you, sorry, you're approving the variance for the paving with curb and gutter? Or you
No.
want them to do the
No.
curb and gutter?
No, I would like them to not have to do curb and gutter
Okay.
or increase the street width.
Basically taking all 3 conditions away.
Yes, which is not what I said, but I used denial instead of approval, so apologize for the confusion.
Okay. Everybody understand? Okay. All right, so I have a motion from Brittany and a second from Patrick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Okay, next item is FP 25-26, Southland Hills Edition, Section 29, SMD number 1. A request of final plat, 25 lots over 6.106 acres within the PD 22-03 zoning district. A request for approval of a variance for right-of-way on Valley View Boulevard and a request for approval of a variance for the paving width of College Hills Boulevard. Austin.
Austin Reed, Senior Planner. It's the final plat for 25 lots over about 6.1 acres. This is going to be the last, or one of the last sections of the Southland Hills addition. It is within District Number 1, Tommy Hebers District, Bonham Neighborhood. The zoning here is a Planned Development District, PD 2203. That Planned Development District had a base zoning of RS3, but it also allowed for multiple residential structure types. The vision plan is neighborhood. On the left-hand side, we have our zoning. You can see it's located within that PD. On the right, we have our vision plan, which is entirely neighborhood. Here's the plat itself. You can see these all front on Valley View Boulevard as it finally connects between Stone Canyon Trail and College Hills off there to the east. We think the first 11 lots on the west-hand side there are going to be some sort of grouping of townhome structures, and the rest on the east are going to be zero-lot line or patio homes. Valley View Boulevard there is a future major collector. Right now, of course, it is unbuilt, but they would be required to bring it up to that minimum 26 feet. Their incremental half of 70 feet of right-of-way is also required, which comes out to 35 feet, but they have requested a variance to only dedicate 30 feet as is shown on the plat right now. College Hills Boulevard, it just touches a very small portion of the plat, but it is a future local road. Right now, it is unbuilt as well, but they would be required, again, to bring it to that minimum 26 feet, and they have requested a variance to only build it to 20 feet, as has been granted for the rest of College Hills and the rest of sections of Southland Hills. Their incremental half of 50 feet of right-of-way is required, 25 feet, which is shown on the plat right now. So we are recommending approval of the plat itself, denial of the variance request for right-of-way dedication on Valley View, and approval of a variance request for paving width on College Hills, subject to 6 conditions. The conditions are to construct Valley View to 26 feet, dedicate 35 feet for Valley View or receive approval of a variance, construct College Hills to 26 feet or receive approval of a variance, install water mains, provide necessary water and wastewater service lines, the drainage study, and sidewalks along Valley View as it is a major collector. If you guys have any questions about our recommendations, I'd be happy to talk about them.
So if there's only 30 feet of right-of-way and we have 26 feet of paving required, there's only 4 feet of space for utilities?
That is correct, and that's why we are recommending denial of the right-of-way in Valley View. We'd prefer to have a little bit more room than that, especially with it being a major collector.
Okay, makes sense.
And that's more or less the same reason that we're recommending approval on College Hills as well, is because you can't get 26 feet of paving on 25 feet of right-of-way, so,
Yeah, that's hard.
yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Austin? All right, thank you, Austin.
Thank you.
Open up public comment.
Good morning, Russell with SKG. We would ask for your approval. As presented, save and accept, we will acquiesce to the 35-foot right-of-way request. The lots are that front onto Valley View at that point of the street are adequately deep, so the 5 feet's not going to adversely impact those lots, so we are willing to dedicate the 35 feet, but we would ask for your approval of the other variances. The ones on College Hills is kind of a continuation of what was requested and granted on the other sections, 27 and 28, that were recently approved by this commission. Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Russell? All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you, sir. Have any other public comment? Okay, so go ahead and close public comment and open it up for discussion. Or a motion.
Okay, so just so I'm understanding this correctly, we did, I think Russell just said this, but I haven't had enough coffee yet either. The variance for College Hills was granted on all the additional plats that we just approved recently, correct? Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve. And the only modification I was going to make is the variance on College Hills to receive the approval of variance from the city to keep it as is.
A second.
Okay. You good, Ray? Okay. So I have a motion from Brittany and a second from Liz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you.
I need to start keeping a coffee pot over there. Last meeting of the year.
All right, next case is RP 2539, third replat of Bell's Addition, Block 20, SMD number 4. A request for a third replat to create 4 new lots in Block 20 of Bell's Addition with a variance request to not construct curb and gutter along Montague Street.
Hey, everybody. This is Arden, regular planner. So today we've got Bell's Addition, third replat.
Sorry, Arden, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Did everybody know that Arden is now a planner?
Yes,
Congratulations.
and just very charismatic. I came in off the street. No. So this is a plat requesting to create 4 new lots out of a little over 1 acre at the intersection of Montague and Vec. So this is Pauland Neighborhood, Patrick Keeley's district. They are in single-family residential zoning. There's a PD up above them for a subdivision, I think. And the vision plan is neighborhood. They also have a variance requested to not construct curb and gutter on their side. So this is our zoning and vision. As I promised before, we've got single-family residential with a plan to keep it neighborhood. So this is the plat itself. We can see those 4 lots. They're staying at about 200 feet in length to match the residential areas down below. And they've got to extend a sewer main either from the north or the south to service the lots that they've got. So I also included a photo. We've talked about that variance request to not construct curb and gutter. So this is the road situation out there extending past the existing residential lots into the lots that are currently being replatted. So with all of this in mind, staff recommends approval of the 3rd replat in Bell's Addition, subject to 4 conditions and denial of that variance request for curb and gutter. We have conditions for them to install their water service lines, extend their sewer main, give us that curb and gutter along Montague Street, and because they are just above an acre, to submit a drainage study. Do you guys have any questions for me?
So just looking at your picture, there is curb and gutter, obviously, right there. Already, right before the lots that are being
Yeah.
repotted. Okay.
So
That's
is
my
that
understanding.
edge of that curve, is that lots 4 through 6, I think, on the plat, just below that?
That's my understanding of it, yeah. Yeah, I'm not a surveyor, so I'm not sure about the lead up, but that's where we're looking from.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? All right, thank you. Public
Russell
comment?
Gully.
All right, Russell, again.
Hi, good morning, Russell with SKG. On the curb and gutter installation, I think it has an option for us to defer that to a later stage of development, so I guess that would probably be our ask. So as they're putting in driveways and making improvements there, they can kind of construct the curbing as kind of part of the home construction. You know, as you know, they'll be bringing concrete trucks in and out and doing a lot of work there. So if we put in a curb and gutter now and then start building these homes, we're going to have to come in and saw cut out pieces of the curb and gutter, trucks coming across it. So our ask would be to defer that. So I'm thinking that's something we can just have a deferral agreement on with the city. And then the drainage study, I was doing some quick math. I was like, is this thing's over an acre in size? And I guess it's just barely. So I guess we'll have to work out the drainage study issues with the city engineer. It's a very small lot and area, and so it's over an acre. I don't know that we'd have room to fit a detention basin on this, so we'll have some conversations with the city engineer on what that looks like. So happy to answer any questions and would ask for your approval with the, I guess we don't really need anything different on the curb and gutter. That's a standard condition to have the deferral agreement.
That is correct. Yeah, it's allowable within the ordinance already.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, I'll close public comment and open it up for discussion.
Make a motion to approve as recommended by staff, but item 3, as far as installing curb and gutter, defer that to later state and construction.
Okay, a motion by Brittany and a second by Candy. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Next item is RP 25-40, second replat of Old Christoval Road, Industrial Park, Block 4, Section 2, SMD number 1. A request to replat a portion of a lot into 2 lots over 5.786 acres within the heavy commercial CH zoning district, as well as a variance request for excessive block length. Austin.
Thank you. Austin Reed again. This is a replat creating 2 lots over about 5.7 acres. We are in the Glenmore neighborhood, District Number 1, Tommy Hebers District. The zoning here is mostly heavy commercial, CH, and the vision plan is entirely industrial. And there's a look at the zoning on the left and the vision on the right. Here's the plat itself. You can see they're dividing the northern portion of this lot into 2 tracts that are about the same size, one being 2.7 acres and one being about 3 acres. They both front onto Christoval Road there to the west. So this is a lot to look at, but Christoval Road there, it is a minor arterial. However, it is TxDOT owned, so we're not having to talk about the specs of the road itself today. There is a variance request for an excessive block length, so the maximum allowed block length is 2,200 feet without a street connection. If you're going down Cristobal Road there in the blue, it is about 6,700 feet between Gas Plant and South Chadburn, which are shown there in the green. Therefore, technically, when this lot is platting, a new road connection is required heading east, connecting maybe back to Dan Hanks at some point in the future. There are some existing access points, as shown in the orange there, that we think would make more sense to turn into a road in the future rather than through this plat. With that, we are recommending approval of the replat subject to 4 conditions and approval of the variance request. The conditions are to install necessary water service lines, sidewalks on Cristobal as it is a minor arterial or a waiver, provide confirmation of a septic permit or extend a sewer main, and a drainage study. You guys have any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Austin.
Thanks.
Go ahead and open up public comment for Russell Gully.
Russell with SKG. We would ask for your approval of this plat and the variance. As Austin indicated, there are some access easements that provides connectivity from Cristobal Road back to Dan Hanks Lane. As Austin had quickly shown, there is one kind of there's one to the south side, and then there's one also kind of adjacent to these to the north. So really, if you could approve the excessive block length variance, that would kind of rectify this and just allow those existing easements to remain in place. And at some point, with platting occurring within the vicinity of those, then that would be the time to make that connection back to Dan Hanks. We'll ask for a sidewalk waiver to the city engineer and planning director. This is an industrial area, so it should be pretty clear that they would grant it. Plus, since this TxDOT right-of-way, they're spending multi-millions of dollars there. If TxDOT doesn't feel like a sidewalk's necessary, and really they should be obligated to, potentially, if you look at the federal legislation requiring sidewalks on these major reconstructions. So anyway, we'll get that worked through with the planning and city engineer, and happy to answer any questions.
Could y'all go back to the map real quick? So I guess the access easements are both in orange?
Yep.
Okay. And any concern or anything we need to consider with utility easements going through on either, if we're separating those lots?
We've spoken with engineering, and they've indicated that easements are not necessary right now.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for Russell? All right. Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, so I'll close public.
Chairman, I did look up in our subdivision ordinance when it talks about sidewalks, and this is probably something I should have worked with staff a little bit better. The zoning for this particular property is heavy commercial, and so it lists in here, and I'll just read it. It talks about street frontage abutting a property in the multifamily, which is RM, neighborhood commercial, CN, office commercial, CO, general commercial, CG, and then general commercial, heavy commercial, which is CGCH. It doesn't say specifically just CH zoning, so I'm comfortable with removing that from a condition. I do agree with Mr. Gully that it is a TxDOT road. They are completely doing a rebuild of that road, and usually that means they would have evaluated the need for sidewalks per the federal rules, and since they did not put that in as part of this plan, we don't feel it's appropriate at this time for that property to work through that process.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron. If I hadn't already done so, I'll close public comment, open it up for discussion.
Can we go back to the slide, or the recommendations, please? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve as presented by staff, but remove the sidewalk condition.
Okay. So I have a motion by Brittany and second by Lyndon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. All right, so we'll move on to rezonings and comprehensive plan amendments. City council has final authority for approval of rezonings and amendments to the comprehensive plan. First case is Z 25-25, Northwest Drive and Arden Road, SMD number 6. A request for a zoning change from heavy commercial CH to low-rise multifamily RM1 at a property located west of the intersection of Arden Road and Northwest Drive. Austin.
Thank you, Austin Reed, Senior Planner. Ray's passing you down a notification return that we got this morning, just so you're aware. This comes to you out of the Bluffs neighborhood, District Number 6, Mary Coffey's district. The vision plan here is commercial. The property measures a little over 21 acres, and the request is to zone change from heavy commercial CH to low-rise multifamily RM1. Sent out 14 notices on this. As I said, we just received one response this morning that you will have a second to look at. Otherwise, we did not receive any other responses. Here's a look at the zoning. On the left, you can see this lot is entirely heavy commercial. To the south, where it has the RS1 and a little bit of the CG, that has actually been recently changed to RM1. So really what we're doing is just kind of bringing that RM1 up to the rest of that section. The vision plan, as you can see, is entirely commercial, which does fit with the multifamily zoning. So we think it's compatible with the surrounding area. It's located on major thoroughfare, of course, and it's surrounded by a mix of commercial and other residential. We also think that this would help towards a demonstrated community need for multifamily housing, and there should be no immediate adverse effects on the natural environment either. With that, we are recommending approval of the zone change. Do you guys have any questions? So the applicant did come to you several months ago for a conditional use, and the conditional use already placed multifamily on this lot. One of the conditions of that conditional use was to come back for a full zone change at some point in the future, so that's why they're here today. Thank you.
Last time today, maybe Russell with SKG. Would ask for your approval of this. This is kind of following up on the conditional use approved that we had gotten. It was a sale agreement in place. The seller didn't want to change the heavy commercial zoning in case the deal fell through. So now it's owned by a group that develops multifamily, and they're in the process of kind of designing a multifamily project to fit at that location. So this would help kind of formalize and finalize the zoning that they would need for that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any other? Okay, so I'll close public comment and open up for discussion or a motion.
Can we go back to recommendations, please?
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented by staff.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve as presented by Liz, second by Brittany. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next case is Z 25-26, 2719 Waco Street, SMD number 2, a request for a zoning change from single-family residential RS1 to the two-family residential RS2 zoning district located at 2719 Waco Street.
Arden here. So we've got this zone change request to go from single-family residential to two-family residential along Waco Street, 2719 Waco. This is the Bluffs neighborhood, kind of a little edge stub out of it above the Houston Heart. And the vision plan remains neighborhood. So to date, we sent out 24 notices. We've had one in favor, one opposed with no reasoning cited, just the opposition checked. So this is our zoning and our vision map. It's currently single-family residential with plans to stay neighborhood. The owner has cited an intent to use that shed kind of in the backyard to create an accessory dwelling unit alignment with Section 401 of our current zoning ordinance in RS2 zoning districts. You can have a single-family residence with a smaller accessory dwelling unit in the back. That's the intent that the applicant has cited. So when looking at this case, staff read up on the Resentel Community Housing Study that y'all will receive a report on today. And that housing study cited the need for some unconventional housing types, very similar to what the applicant is specifically requesting. Additionally, this area is in the recently designated infill portion of the city. That happened around October, which we feel is another indicator of a demonstrated community need for housing solutions. In addition to meeting the 7 criteria for a zone change, this applicant intends to maintain the single-family character of Waco Street by having the unit to the back of a 140-foot lot. So when you drive down the street, that single-family nature of the area would remain preserved. With that, staff recommends approval of this zone change from RS1 to RS2 at 2719 Waco. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Any questions for Arden? All right, thank you. No public comment? Okay, so we'll go ahead and open it up for discussion or a motion. Okay, so a motion by Brittany, second by Lyndon. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes. Okay, next case, Z25-27, East Avenue K and Dugan Street, SMD number 3, a request for a zone change from general heavy commercial, CGCH, to a low-rise multifamily residential RM1 located west of the intersection at East Avenue K and Dugan Street. Ray.
Good morning, Ray Lineberry, lead planner. My first and only case for you guys this morning. So this is a zoning request. It is in the Fort Concho neighborhood. It is District 3, Harry Thomas. It is currently zoned CGCH, general and heavy commercial, and it is a neighborhood center and industrial for the vision plan. They are looking to do multifamily. The plat under the consent agenda made those 3 lots into one, and they plan on doing multifamily similar to, I want to say about 6 months ago, you saw down here in this corner. They also rezoned to RM1 multifamily, so they are doing the same thing in this corner. We did send out 25 notices. We have received 0 in favor and 0 opposed. And on the left is the zoning map. And as I said, it is general and heavy commercial. And then the right is the vision map. Part of it is neighborhood center and then industrial. We will bring a comp plan amendment back in January to change the industrial to match the RM1 zoning. So when staff looked at this, we did feel that it would be compatible in the area because there's single family to the north and a little bit to the east, and it would act as a buffer between the commercial. There is a Dollar General, there's a little bit of commercial along the west. I'm gonna go back to map. So there's a little bit of commercial there along Oaks, and I believe it's Avenue L below to the south. So having multifamily would act as a buffer for all the residential above it, and there is a demonstrated need for housing in this area. So with that, staff is recommending approval. Is there any questions?
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Your time's up. Any public comment?
Yes. We have the applicant, Blake.
Good morning, Blake with Wilde Engineering and Surveying. We just asked for approval as presented. Any questions? Be happy to answer.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Wilde? All right, thank you.
And then possibly Ed Garcia. Did you still want to speak? No? Okay. Then that's it.
Okay? So we'll close public comment and open up for discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Lyndon and a second by Candy. All in favor? Or, sorry, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And I believe the final rezoning is Z 25-28, 3110, 3114, 3118, and 3122 Waco Street. SMD number 2, a request for a zoning change from single-family residential RS1 to neighborhood commercial CN located at 3110, 3114, 3118, and 3122 Waco Street. Aaron.
Thank you, Chairman. Aaron Vanoy, Planning and Development Services Director. So anytime the caption gets really long, they give it to me, so that's why you get to talk to me today. So let's get started on this one. So you see there are 4 lots that would face Waco Street if Waco was actually built out. Waco is actually, the paving stops right there, and then this is not built out. You can see it's just kind of a gravel area that comes to an approach there. So we're looking at rezoning these 4 lots and this little tip of this lot, which has been conveyed by deed, and they will come back with a future abandonment request and a future replat that will absorb that and make that all into one lot. And why that's important is because the rezoning is coming over here, and part of the rezoning, as I take that off, is the access would be from Houston Hart, not really the neighborhood area through there. But we wanted to go through the rezoning first to make sure Planning Commission and City Council were agreeable to this plan, to this zoning change. So this, again, is just barely into the Bluffs neighborhood. It's District 2, Mr. Joe Self. The vision plan is neighborhood center, so the underline is already a low-intensity commercial. It's right at 0.5 acres, and this is a zone change from RS1 to neighborhood commercial. So we did send out 21 notices through the report that was sent. There were none in support and none in opposition. Checking again this morning, we have not received any support or opposition at this time. So here you can see the mix of zoning districts in the area. It's been slowly over time kind of carving back up with the zoning on the left side. You can see that kind of trapezoid shape of the RS1. There are two RS1 properties right here that do have frontage to Waco Street and enter in off of Waco Street there. But we are looking at this sliver right here, changing that to be a more low intense than this, which is general commercial. It would match these vacant kind of lots that are back here, which is neighborhood commercial. So not quite as intense as general commercial, which means higher traffic, bigger building, things like that. So we're looking at something that's not high traffic all day long, does have a good amount of traffic at periods of time, but could be a structure between 10,000 square feet and under, something like that. The vision plan, of course, has been neighborhood center, and so that kind of that low intensity along the frontage road there, and this is a move in that direction for these 4 properties. So with that, we did go through the rationale. It is located on a major thoroughfare. It's surrounded by a mix of commercial and other residential. The neighborhood commercial is designed for mixed use and low intensity commercial. There is a community need that we need to continue to expand some of our commercial areas. We don't have as many zone commercial areas as we all think. And so this is an addition to that. And for these 4 lots, there's really not a big impact on the natural environment. It's just kind of, it was cleared off many, many decades ago for housing. It never developed there. And so maybe this is the way to get it to move forward in some more productive way. With that, the city staff is recommended approval from the change from RS1 to neighborhood commercial for these 5 pieces of property there on Waco Street. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Aaron? Okay. Thank you, Aaron.
Do you I do.
Oh, sorry.
I can never get my button to push quick enough. Do you have any idea what the intention is for the future development of this lot?
As of right now, we don't have anything concrete, but they have talked about they might do some kind of retail sales that would be there. It wouldn't be like a Dollar General or a convenience store, but a retail sales all the way up from, say, maybe doing flooring, carpeting, flooring, tile, retail sales like that to other types of items.
Okay.
So again, in our mind, more of a low intensity as opposed to a convenience store that might be a little higher intensity that has gas pumps and other things going on there.
Okay, thanks, Aaron.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, Aaron. Have any public comment? No. Okay, so go ahead and open it up for discussion
Make
or
a
a motion.
motion to approve is presented by staff.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Brittany, second by Liz to approve as presented. Any further discussion? All right, so all in favor, say aye. 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 Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's all the cases. Next item on the agenda is the planning director report. Aaron, it's your show.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to give hopefully a very quick condensation of the 116 pages of the new Res Intel housing study. There's lots and lots of data in there. This is in your background information. It is also available to the public, and I really encourage our community to really start digging in to that housing study, because I do believe within the next, in the next 6 months, we're going to be bringing some items forward that are generated from our development task force and some subcommittees from our development task force to try to help impact housing to move forward in a faster direction, so that we can have more of the housing that we're missing. You talked about a couple of projects today that kind of hit some of that middle housing area, located off of Arden Road, also over there off of Dugan and Avenue K. We also need to be cognizant of our single-family housing, of where is the right place and appropriate, how do we get infrastructure there, as well as our, what we would call entry-level housing. And I go through some of these charts, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I think it's a very exciting time. Since we're in the Christmas and holiday spirit, I hope that we have a lot of hopefulness for this study and how it's going to help our community move forward. So this study was commissioned by the City of San Angelo Development Corporation. We're very thankful that they were able to get this 5-year update. While it didn't show a lot of differences from the 2019, but it did show a lot of economic things, and that's really, really important. This was conducted by the Community Development Strategies. It is a very data-forward study that has median income and housing inventory and a lot of data behind it. It gives recommendations to assist communities in housing development, housing types, and even recommended price points. It also gives recommendations for zoning updates, land development and subdivision ordinance, trying to find a way to work with pre-approved plans. How do we update some of our fire codes so that we allow some different types of construction that may not trigger certain things in the fire code, and some strategic incentives and locations for quick development. So do we focus on infill? Do we focus on new areas? What is it that we need to look for? So the study area was not just the city of San Angelo, but also in the ETJ. They looked at how the ETJ can impact us with people that are living there, whether they're coming to work in San Angelo or people that are living in San Angelo and going and working outside of San Angelo. We did talk briefly in one of our cases, or maybe a couple of our cases, about the infill area. So these are the neighborhoods that have infill areas. In the most recent couple of years, there's been 2 areas that have been, one expanded and then one added. So right up here, just to the east of Bell Street and north of Houston Hart, this neighborhood was added, this little square right there. And then this area right through here, which is, the neighborhood is Angelo Heights. For the HUD designation, it's actually Brentwood, because of the Brentwood Park and everything in there. But this is an area that was excluded before, and now it is included. And if you look at that map overall, that's a pretty significant area that falls within the HUD designated infill area. And what it also shows is that we have not contracted any of those areas. They still all qualify as HUD infill areas. And so that makes me worry a little bit for a couple of reasons. Is our infill funding is only so much. You spread that out over a larger area, well, now you're impacting fewer applicants potentially. And so there's probably some discussion in the future about how we deal with our infill, particularly some discussions for our city council members to make some decisions on funding level, appropriate uses, where does it need to go, does it need to be targeted, those types of things. With that, I'm going to go through a lot of different data tables that was in this study. This is just the family and non-family households from 2024. So non-family is just a single person. That doesn't mean they're an alien or something odd out there. So we have, roughly in San Angelo, right at 39,000. Within Tom Green County, 46,000. And you can see where our stuff is going. The interesting thing is down here, in COVID time, when we actually had a pretty good housing boom and we felt like we had a lot more people coming, our numbers show that we were pretty straightforward, or stagnant, if you will. Where in the previous decade, we were just under 10% growth. What their projections are through this study in the next 5 years is not a whole lot of growth either, as far as households and non-family households. So it stays pretty static. So that's an area of concern, because we also know that we need housing. We hear that every day. We need housing in our community. And so this is things that we need to really dig into, and what does this chart really mean when we're talking about housing needs? So in San Angelo, roughly 10% of the family households are below the poverty. And that's 2,500 folks. And then with that being 2,055 with children. And so that's not a super high population, but 10% is an impact. And it makes a big difference in what style of housing we need to provide for our community, from housing for sale and housing for rent. This is our household income. So you can see the breakdown through there. The bottom two lines are the most interesting to me. So average household income, that means there's a lot of high incomes pulling that number up to the average of 85,000. You go to the median, that's the actual middle point of income for our folks in our community. 59,000, this was in 2019. If you raise it for inflation, that would be just under 62,000. So that means there's a lot of high incomes that are pulling that average up, but the 50% of our community is at 62,000 or below. And that really makes a huge impact. For those of you that know about house sales, $62,000 for a household is not a lot of money to buy a home, even if that home is $250,000. Which we consider maybe the top end of entry level. We might have to rethink that of what is really entry level for our community. Our existing housing stock, very interesting. I think most of us that are my age know that these 2 decades, I didn't do it. These 2 decades right here, you can look at the housing stock that was built. That was, we had an oil boom, even in the 50s when there was some things going on. And then as you can see, it's gets a little bit lower and a little bit lower each year. So why is that? There's not as many people coming out to West Texas. Most are going to the high metroplex areas. But we also know that there are people that want to live in a community like ours. We have a high quality of life community. We have surface water. We have lots of things going on for our community that even some of our surrounding communities does not have. And we believe very strongly that we are going to continue to thrive and even succeed in some areas with the right type of housing stock. Housing type trends, obviously 1 unit detached, our single family homes dominates everything that we have. 1 unit attached, so we're talking about twin homes or duplexes. There's 2 units, and then you start getting into the multifamily units and things like that. So according to this, there's right at 43,598 units out there. There are so many that are owner occupied, so many that are renter occupied, and then that means there's around 4,000 that are unoccupied units. Now, it doesn't tell us whether those are dangerous structures, dilapidated structures, are they really completely vacant, what's going on there. We know we have apartment complexes that are completely vacant just because they're just not in good condition. We know we have lots of neighborhoods that have some houses that need to be rehabbed. And so maybe those are some quick wins for us to get some more housing stock of how we look at our infill program. Existing home sales. This is a very interesting chart to me. So in 2015, you can see at the left side of the chart, you see the top ends, those are where the triple digit numbers are. And then as you go over time, those triple digit numbers start sliding down. And so one would say, okay, well, we don't have any of those houses anymore that are valued or being built or valued at that, or being built or valued in that. The reality is the market has shifted and said those houses are really worth $200,000 to $250,000. And so that's why you see those numbers, those triple digit numbers start curving down. Well, the problem is we have to find ways to replace those with something. Is that a different size house? Is that smaller lots? Is that something where infrastructure is already there that's not impacting those costs of those homes to be so significant? And so while we're very consistent on how many we sell per year, which is great, we still have to go back and fill in so that arc doesn't keep arcing all the way down to where we don't have anybody that can come and be in our workforce. And that can be challenging. And so as we try to add industries, manufacturing, our farm and ranching heritage that has workforce that they may not make those significant salaries, they still need places to live and maybe places that they can own themselves. So this is the one that really impacted me. This was their calculations for an FHA mortgage. And if you see the home price there on the left, $175,000, you look at the annual required income. Now that's for a household. That's a pretty significant income. That's between $15 and $18 an hour for both maybe spouses, or if there's just one, that's a lot more than that. We don't have a whole lot of those. I mean, we have some jobs that are $15 an hour. I drive by McDonald's all the time. They're hiring for $15 an hour. That's about a $32,000 a year job. Well, they're not being able to afford anything on this chart unless they have another spouse that comes in or some other revenue. And that's why you see in a lot of cities multi-generational living. That's why you see a lot of cities where it's not a husband and spouse, might be just two friends, that they're able to buy a house and move in together. Those types of things. And so it's very impactful of what that means when we look at our housing inventory and what we are able to sell houses for here in our community. This chart kind of gives it a little bit better definition just without the numbers. You can see on the left side are the green and blue. Obviously in 2015 we were selling a lot of those, and then it starts to kind of arc down and you see the yellow and oranges and the reds start arcing up. That has to do with inflation, that has to do with cost of development. What does it cost to develop those new homes? Roadway, water, sewer, subcontractors, materials, all of those things. We know during COVID, materials went up out the roof. So did subcontractors. Everybody was needing something done, and so it costs a very lot. The average age of a subcontractor is over 65 years old in our community. We got to really address that in some way. We know Howard College has a trades program. Is there some more partnerships that need to happen to get more folks into the trades programs? I encourage anybody that's listening, watching, doing whatever, encourage your kids to go to the trades. Those are 1,000% respectable jobs. They make really good money. My brother's a master plumber in North Texas. He does fantastic. I think anybody that goes into the trades are very intelligent people to do that at this time in their life. So really encourage people to do that. All right, household income by household type. So if you're looking at what kind of household income it takes. So there's so many folks that make less than 25,000. There's 2,400 folks living in households and so forth. It was just a neat little chart talking about the non-family households, 14,800. Those are single people, but look at where their numbers are skewed. They're towards the lower end as opposed towards the higher end. So you're thinking about your seniors. You're thinking about your college kids. You're thinking about possibly just individuals out there, maybe from the base, that have come here to stay. They're not making a whole lot because their E level is much lower than others. And so do we have housing for them? So what does San Angelo do? One thing that our staff team and development team is working on is some updates on lot sizes. We do think we need to create some neighborhood plans, and very similar to the case that Arden Neff presented today, to be strategic with ADU locations. We're not completely convinced they should just be allowed by right everywhere. And I think our community would echo that. But then we also know they need to be allowed in certain areas. Well, what are those areas? We need to figure that out. One concept that's been kind of going around when you're looking at plats, we know there's always some challenges with corner lots. Could we allow duplexes by right on corner lots? Some developers would want that, some wouldn't. They could make their decision if they wanted to or not. But even if we said it's RS1, could they do a duplex by right on the corner? Have a driveway on the side street and a driveway on this street? Something to discuss with our development folks to see if that's something they're interested in. We are considering removing the floor area ratios. We already have setbacks. We already have a building height. When it comes to regulations, is this just another regulation that, well, if I meet the setbacks and the building height, does it matter if I have 60% coverage or 40% coverage? So we're evaluating those things. We are working to resolve the double frontage setbacks, that we would look at the right-of-way distance and basically every increment of 5 feet that you're going to get to scoot closer to your property line so you don't have to worry about two 25-foot front yards. Reduce front yard setbacks. How do we do that in areas that it makes sense? And then target housing that's 1,400 to 2,000 square feet. Square feet. How do we do that on maybe narrower lots? How do we do it where the infrastructure doesn't cost so much? And that's hard to do. Infill areas. What about 750 square foot homes up to 1,700? Shared driveways or parking in the street. That comes with a cost somewhere along the way. As we know, San Angelo is built with big streets in certain areas, particularly in new development since the 80s. Very wide streets. It costs a lot of money to maintain those streets. We know we have to do different things to maintain streets, and we can't maintain them now. The challenge with allowing on-street parking, which is a nice concept, you got to have a street wide enough so that you have passage through with vehicles. And so now you've just changed the cost from maybe the private cost to all the taxpayers by saying, okay, well, we can narrow this street. So it's very challenging on how to do that, particularly in infill. So what do we do in our land development subdivision ordinance? There is an opportunity for new development to potentially allow for reduced paving widths. Do we really need a 40-foot road everywhere? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. Potential for alleyway entry to reduce concrete driveway costs. Now, part of that comes down to what does it cost to build that alleyway? Are we able as a city to reduce the requirements for an alleyway to reduce the amount of concrete that's poured? Instead of a 25-foot setback, maybe you've got a smaller setback in the rear yard. In the infill areas, can you reduce the plat requirements or work up an exemption for platting for less than 3 lots? Maybe some of those that you saw in the last few months that we only had 3, 4 lots. They wanted to replat. Our ordinance is going to make you put the water and sewer in no matter what. It's going to make you put in the roadway no matter what, whether you plat or not. So why go through the added expense of going through the formal plat process if we can allow for an exemption? We also have to think about what are the unintended consequences of doing that. So we have to think through those things. And the study specifically says, avoid oversized roads, utilities unless necessary for safety and environmental health. I mean, it says, try not to do that. But at the same time, we also have to project where is our new growth going to happen, which is going to come through our comprehensive plan and tell us this is what we believe this community is going to be able to sustain and how and where we're going to do it. So what could we do on building codes and fire codes? Again, assist in creating some pre-approved plan sets for small-scale housing. If we have developers or builders that they essentially build the same house over and over or the same unit type over and over, can we just approve that plan set? All they have to do is turn in a site plan and say, I'm building plan set A, or I'm building plan set B. All right, your site plan looks good, let's move forward. There's some options like that. In the study, it talked about simplify review times and provide online and automated permitting tools. So I gave some facts. Not sure what a has last, but we have less than a 1.5 day turnaround on average for residential house reviews. Our next closest city that would compare to that is Abilene, and they have an 8-day turnaround. So we always hear it's always permits, it's permits, it's permits. That's not really true. Most of the time, it's this site stuff. It's not platted, it doesn't have utilities, it may not have a road, it's got something else weird going on to it. But permits is the stopping point, saying, hey, everybody in the development world, are you okay with this? And somebody raises their hand and says no, so permits gets the blame. But it's not the plan review for permitting. So I wanted to defend them just a little bit here. The city has had automated commercial plans processing since 2018, and we've had residential since 2002, but we have very, very few customers that are willing to take on the role as the applicant. So 95% of the time, our staff is the applicant for these commercial and residential folks that come in for different factors. Another item that they talked about in there that a lot of cities are really looking at is allow single stairs allowable in units up to 6 units instead of having 2 stairs, taking away that cost and having that stair in the middle so the travel distance is the same and have the stair come down. Some cities are starting to create a residential code carve-out for structures up to 6 units because after 4 units, they kick into a commercial code, which throws in sprinklers. Well, if you do up to 6 units and not in the commercial code, you may not have to do sprinklers. And so there may be an option there if our community is supportive of that. So we talk about the infill, excuse me. We have to focus on the funding at times. What are the highest costs? Is it infrastructure? Is it land acquisition in those infill areas that maybe just somebody sitting on a piece of land and they just don't want anything to happen to it, but we know we're providing services out there already? Or is it with that site development? How can we incentivize incremental developers who can build 1 to 4 units affordably? How can we incentivize folks that want to convert an old church, a commercial building, or something like that to housing? Right now, we do not incentivize that, even if you're in the infill. It specifically states it must be new. And so that means a new structure. Well, that raises your costs quite a bit. We do need to get to data-driven decision-making on what provides San Angelo's citizens the best bang for their incentive dollars. These are tax dollars that we're using. So are we using them for the best way for our whole community to make properties a little more productive? We do think there are some great partnering opportunities with COSA DC for large infrastructure projects and potential land acquisitions to facilitate the regulation requirements. So is that providing regional detention ponds? Is that providing new elevated water storage tanks in areas that then you have enough water pressure, enough water volume supply to service someone? Is that just like they did out at the lake with the new trunk main, being able to put funding into that as well as other funding into that, say, all right, we're going to allow this area to be able to grow because we have the right sewer capacity. So those are all things that are going to be evaluated, but everything they do, those are all development things. They come through this board, they go to city council, they're evaluated in our comprehensive plan. And so I think that's why it's very, very important over the next 12, 18 to 20 months that We engage our community, we engage our appointed officials and our elected officials, our city staff to say, all right, what does our plan says we can do financially, what can we do, and how can we work to do that together? With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have them. But again, I do recommend and taking one of the nice cold winter nights and taking a read through the ResTel housing study. If you fall asleep by page 6, that's your own fault. It's very intriguing.
Well, there's a lot of good information in there, and I'm glad that we have an update. It is kind of disheartening to look at the abysmal growth that they projected for the next 5 years. And so I think as a city or community, we need to think about what do we do to build and incentivize the momentum to try to drive that in a different direction. And so it's a challenge, I think, for everybody because it's a chicken and the egg thing. I mean, there's not a huge demand for a lot of new development and housing if we don't have jobs to bring new people to our city, and we can't bring new companies and jobs to our city if we don't have a place for them to live. So it's hard to figure out how to really which levers, I guess, to pull as far as the city goes to figure out the best way to try to drive that. But I think, it's interesting. As you mentioned, the biggest complaint that you hear just in conversation is permitting, but really the biggest hangups, it looks like in your report, are all driven by development and things related to lot and site development. So, I think there's some challenges that the city can consider in how we move forward to that. Trying to drive the cost of development down. And I think, obviously a lot of that, there's several factors involved in that. I mean, are there things that you discuss like regulatory that we need to reevaluate and consider? Are we putting up too many regulatory barriers to where it makes it not feasible for a developer to come in and build? So, to me, lot size sticks out. Obviously, the more lots you can fit on the development, the more you drive your ROI up. And just looking at the cost of lots, that's the starting point to build a new house. And so when you can't buy a lot for, $40,000, $50,000 in a lot of cases, you're already behind the 8 ball. Then on top of that, the availability of subcontractors and contractors in general drives the price up. So there's a lot of things to consider in the way that we approach it and what probably has the most impact, I guess, to make it more attractive for a developer to come in and put new houses on the ground or to rehab. And I guess gentrification is a bad word, right? So just to rehab certain areas of town that have been neglected, or there's certainly opportunities there because you don't have the cost of, or necessarily have the cost of bringing utilities and all the infrastructure to that area is already there. So
I like to call it civic pride at times because we really want our community to have civic pride in their neighborhoods, and we are a neighborhood community. We grew up that way. That does not mean every neighborhood needs to look the same, does not all have to have brick houses, it does not have to have brand new houses, but I think if each of us had the civic pride to maintain what we can, and we know there are times that citizens cannot, and do we have the right funding and assistance for those that can't and help them with their safety needs and with things that helps maintain their property values the best we can. I think that's something we do as a community.
Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of going forward in the next few months on where we land on modifying lot sizes, because I think that, again, if we're looking at a lot, let's say on Coleman or Waco, back in 2012, you could purchase that for $1,500 to $2,000. Now you're at $25,000 to $40,000, and those are those infill lots in the neighborhoods that really are needing, the development we often see, and we talk about it a lot, as, as that development occurs, it might spark the neighbor to pick up their lawn a little bit more, or potentially repaint the exterior of their home, and just gives more pride to the community. So I think that that's going to be extremely interesting. I do think also, looking more into funding, we've got infill money for infrastructure costs on these vacant lots, but is there the ability to offer some infill money to people wanting to do some of those rehabs? Obviously having specifications on what it would apply to, or, how those funds would work, but having the community know that those funds are available with, as we kind of talked about the other day, no strings attached, that they can actually come in and do some improvements where before maybe they couldn't, and, maybe have a, if you're going to update some water issues in your home, it's XYZ dollars that you get, or, just having some things for the community, and trying to figure out where to come up with that money.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it is, our community needs a portfolio of housing. I know I talked a lot about maybe the low-end housing, but we need the high-end housing as well. That still continues to help cover some of that low-end housing, because some of the low-end housing may not pencil out. And so how do we help cover some of those things? So it's a portfolio for our community, just like you would have a portfolio for yourself in your retirement. That's really important to have. So last thing I'll say is just want to congratulate Ray and Arden and this guy over here, Austin. Almost forgot his name. They have done a great job with these subcommittees and getting data and providing data to our development community. And I really appreciate the development community coming and sitting down with city staff and talking through ideas. What do we think can work? Sometimes it's going to be out of the box, and we'll bring some presentations to you guys that may seem different, but we're trying to look at it through a fiscal eye of what does it cost us today and in 30 years, how does it impact us? And so, but they've done a great job leading those committees and talking about things, and so the work really has been them. They've been bringing this up kind of from the grassroots up, so I really appreciate the work that they've done. So with that, Chairman, I don't have anything else today.
Well, I just want to say I applaud you and staff too for the effort and really the open dialogue and engagement with the development community, and including them in this conversation, because I think that's critical to make an impact. So thank you. Did anybody else have anything? Okay.
Again, thanks staff for all their hard work this year. We've had some interesting cases come forward and some easy cases. So, but we definitely, as a commission, appreciate all your dedication, the hard work, the hours you guys put in to be able to present us the information we need to make the decision that's right for the community. So thank you.
All right, so with that, I think the last thing is our next regular meeting of the Planning Commission is scheduled to begin on Monday, January 26th at 9 a.m. in the East Mezzanine of City Hall at 72 West College Avenue, where we're at right now.
And I do want to remind everybody on the board that January is when we do elections. So we will be voting on a new chair and vice chair. So keep that in
Also,
mind.
just a note, that is a week later than our normal meeting because of Martin Luther King holiday. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, man. All right, had several motions and seconds, I believe. So I'll call meeting adjourned at 10:18.